Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala Linguistics. I am Ajay Sarvaiya, Assistant Professor in the Department of Linguistics, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. Today we will deal with the module Cognitive Semantics, Philosophical Assumptions from the paper Language Studies. The module consists of 4 sections. The first section deals with Introduction. The second section deals with structural approaches. The third section deals with cognitive approaches. And the fourth section provides summary. 1. Introduction. Some researchers examine cognitive linguistics in terms of 2 schools or paradigms. These 2 schools differ with reference to their assumptions regarding language. According to one school, language is modular, that is, it is independent from the other cognitive abilities like perception, memory, reasoning, imagination, etc. The other school considers language as holistic, that is, language is not independent from other cognitive abilities. Rather, language is an integral part of cognition. Some researchers use the distinction of formal and functional respectively to describe these schools. I prefer to call the former school as structural, as it is primarily concerned with identifying structures and their relations in the absence of any context, cognitive or social. I prefer to call the latter school as cognitive, as it is primarily concerned with identifying conceptual structures and their relations in context, cognitive and social. Some scholars conceptualize cognitive linguistics in terms of 2-3 generations. The former school mentioned above is considered as the first generation of cognitive science, and the second school mentioned above is considered as the third generation of cognitive science. The notion of generation brings in the connotation that the third generation is more developed, better equipped and more relevant than the first. Cognitive linguists describe cognitive linguistics as a movement or an enterprise, as it is not a specific theory, which emerged in the early 1970s out of dissatisfaction with formal approaches to language. Cognitive semantics and cognitive grammar are the 2 major areas of cognitive linguistics in which most research is carried out. Cognitive semantics is concerned with examining the nature of meaning and its relation to cognition. However, as we will see, the notion of meaning is not the same as that found in structural or formal approaches. Cognitive grammar, on the other hand, is concerned with the nature of grammar and its relation to cognition. However, the notion of grammar is not the same that found in the structural or formal approaches. We will consider some of the assumptions that underlie both the structural and cognitive approaches to better understand their contributions to the field of knowledge. 2. Structural approaches. The most significant assumption regarding language is that language is literal. This assumption is entrenched deeply into the Western traditions of grammar, language and literary studies for past 2500 years. The figurative aspect of language is considered rule derived or secondary or ascribed to the genius of poets. Metaphors found in ordinary conversational language are believed to be borrowed from the language of poetry. Once language is assumed to be literal, the structural or formal approaches conceptualize language as a system of structures and their relations. They therefore conceptualize grammar as a set of rules and principles regarding these structural relations. In the early days of structuralism, the first half of the 20th century, grammar was conceptualized through the metaphor of levels. Grammar had 4 levels: phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. That is, the first level of sounds or phonemes, the second level of words or morphemes, the third level of sentences, and the fourth level of word meanings or sentence meanings. These levels were hierarchical, that is, without identifying phonemes of a language, one could not reach morphemes. Similarly, without identifying the morphemes of the language, one could not reach sentences. The motivating idea behind this approach was combination of phonemes create a morpheme, combination of morphemes create a word, and combination of words create a sentence. However, meaning was barely explored. Meaning remained untouched, untouchable. As per the logic of levels, the movement across levels remain unidirectional. During the first half of the 20th century, linguists produced descriptive grammars, which involved 1. Identifying units such as phonemes, morphemes, and phrases, and 2. Formalizing the relation between these units within the domain of a particular language. Structural linguistics developed extremely refined and rigorous procedures of identifying the units of a language, and it also attempted to formalize the relations among these units in terms of rules. The second half of the 20th century was dominated by Chomskyan or generative paradigm, which I consider the second phase of structuralism. Chomsky provided a formalism to work out syntax in an autonomous way. The earliest Chomskyan model of grammar had 3 components. 1. Lexicon, which consisted of a bundle of words. 2. Syntactic component, which handled structure of words as well as sentences. And 3. Phonological component, which dealt with phonological rules associated with words and sentences. This model excluded a separate component for morphological operations. Later modifications of the model accepted an autonomous component of morphology within lexicon and semantics as LF. As Chomsky assumes that language is modular and grammar is an autonomous formal system, the structural and formal methodology turns out to be context free. Such method is disembodied as it assumes that there is no role of human body and brain as well as society and culture in the conceptualization of grammar. Sentences of a natural language are analyzed in the absence of their context, and the aim of such an analysis is to construct a universal grammar, which consists of universal principles and language specific parameters. Linguistic ability or competence is considered independent from other cognitive abilities such as perception, memory, understanding, imagination, etc. Chomsky proposed that this UG is genetically hardwired into the human species. Chomsky's conception of grammar is based on the metaphor of container. The system of grammar is part of the human mind and the context is outside the grammar. What is left for human agency is to be exposed to the environment. It seems humans exist within the grammar, not with the grammar. This is the only implication left once the formula of grammar is fixed for the species. The descriptive phase thus gave way to the explanatory phase. Identifying units and establishing procedures gave way to formalizing explanatory rules. The prominent questions during the first phase were: what are the basic units of a system? How are these units related to each other in a given domain? They were replaced by the questions like, how does a child acquire a language in such a short period of time? What is the nature of a psychologically real rule? What could be an adequate theory of the grammar of a language? Instead of notions like structure, system, phoneme, etc., notions like features, rules, acquisition, etc. became prominent. As the structural or formal approach assumes language to be literal and modular, meaning is also assumed to be literal and dictionary based. That is, devoid of any context at word level and truth functional at sentence level. Lack of terms the formal or truth conditional approach to meaning as objectivist semantics and characterizes it in the following way. A. The doctrine of truth conditional meaning. Meaning is based on reference and truth. B. The correspondence theory of truth. Truth consists in the correspondence between symbols and states of affairs in the world. C. The doctrine of objective reference. There is an objectively correct way to associate symbols with things in the world. Meaning is conceptualized in terms of components of a situation and components of a sentence. If these components correspond, then the sentence is considered true. The structural or formal approaches generate and sustain a lot of dichotomies like context free, context bound, competence, performance, deep structure, surface structure, semantics, pragmatics, literal, metaphoric, ideal, real, speech, writing, structure, action, where the first category is considered basic or essential and the second category derived or secondary. This approach will never be able to, nor does it seem to want to, resolve these dichotomies and therefore always sustain the power hierarchies embedded within them. The structural or formal paradigm is based on the analytic approach to philosophy, which produces disembodied concepts that are hierarchically arranged. As the goal is to produce abstract system of principles applying classical Aristotelian logic or principles of categorization, these concepts are postulated as a priori and immutable. 3. Cognitive approaches. The cognitive approaches to language assume that language is not literal, that the human ability to conceptualize rests on the use of tropes like metaphor, metonymy, irony, etc. The ordinary language uses these tropes to conceive abstract states, emotions, and ideas. The cognitive approaches to language assume that language is not modular, that is, the difference between language and other mental processes is one of degree, but is not one of kind. This approach also assumes that aspects of experience and context are crucially implicated in the structure and functioning of language. The most important assumption of cognitive semantics is that meaning emerges from embodied experience. That is, meaning is grounded in the nature of our bodies and brains and our interactions with our physical, social, and cultural environment. This approach has produced extremely significant concepts like conceptual metaphor, image schema, mental spaces, frames, etc., which give us insight into the nature of human language and cognition. The related assumption is that knowledge of language emerges from language use. That is, categories and structures in semantics, syntax, morphology, and phonology are built up from our cognition of specific utterances on specific occasions of use. The examples will explicate the assumption that meaning is embodied. In the example 1, the preposition in represents the notion of physical containment. The logical implications of containment are: the person is bound in a physical environment where he is protected from external forces and his movements are restricted. However, the examples 2, 3 and 4 describe the states like love and health. The concept of containment emerges out of our embodied experiences of bounded structures, which in turn give rise to the image schema of container. This image schema is metaphorically projected on abstract concepts like states. Image schemas are a more primitive level of cognitive conceptual structures underlying metaphors, and which provide a link between bodily experience and higher cognitive domains such as language. Embodied experiences give rise to image schemas within the conceptual system. Image schemas derive from sensory and perceptual experiences as we interact with and move about in the world. Image schemas are the conceptual structures that emerge out of such interactions. They are dynamic patterns of an activity by which we organize our experiences. These structures constantly operate in our perception and bodily movement. Image schematic structures are metaphorically projected from concrete to abstract domains of understanding. Because of our physical experience of being and acting in the world, of perceiving the environment, moving our bodies, exerting and experiencing force, etc., we form basic conceptual structures which we then use to organize thought across a range of more abstract domains. Meaning is also assumed to be encyclopedic in nature. Concepts are formed on the basis of a speaker's experiences of living in a particular society, culture and history, due to which speakers develop folk theories about the world. They consist of background knowledge, beliefs and views gathered and developed in a given culture. These theories are termed as frames by Fillmore and as idealized cognitive models by Lakoff. For example, Mangal Sutra is a special kind of necklace. However, this concept carries the information that it is worn by a Hindu married woman until her husband is alive. Another important assumption regarding meaning is that meaning is conceptualization. It opens up the possibility of viewing meaning as a dynamic process where linguistic units, conceptual operations and background knowledge interact in the construction of meaning. It implies that meaning is not something given or mechanically generated, but something which emerges out of an act of interaction. Meaning itself being an abstract concept is also conceptualized over the centuries using various metaphors such as image, thing, reference, sense, concept, features, prototype, etc. The examples here provide insight into how each language conceptualizes a situation, that someone has a cold. The situation is conceptualized through the conceptual metaphor of possession in English and Somali. In English, the person possesses the disease. In Somali, the disease possesses the person. Whereas the situation is conceptualized through the conceptual metaphor of location in Irish. The person is location for the disease. Metaphor in cognitive semantics is not simply a poetic device or just a figure of speech. It is one of the fundamental properties of language, a conceptual structure that allows us to conceptualize one domain of experience in terms of another domain of experience. One conceptual domain, usually concrete, physical and experiential, is mapped onto another conceptual domain, usually abstract and mental through metaphors. Metaphors involve not only ways of talking about phenomena, but also ways of thinking about them. Also, vast domain of our experience, understanding, reasoning and practice are metaphorically structured. 4. Summary. The structural or generative approach is based on analytic philosophy, which conceptualizes language as a system of structures and their relations, and therefore conceptualizes grammar as a set of rules and principles regarding these structural relations. This approach assumes that language is modular and therefore considers it to be independent from the other cognitive abilities like perception, memory, reasoning, imagination, etc. This approach also assumes that language is literal. These assumptions and the context-free method produce disembodied concepts. The cognitive approach is based on experientialist or inactivist philosophy, which considers experience, context, and the structure of human brain and body as conditions for any investigation into the nature of language or mind. This approach assumes that language, thought, imagination, and action are metaphorical. Meaning is encyclopedic and grammar is conceptualization. These assumptions and the context-bound method produce embodied concepts. This is where we end the module. I look forward to meeting you for the next lecture.